Greetings, welcome back to CS133, Practical Programming with Python. We're on week 4, lesson import module, right? So how do you import a module? So to review, we talked about lists. Our objective for now is to understand, how to import modules, why would you want to import module, and kind of what are modules, right? So that's really the concept behind this. But your success criteria will be to import the time module and then code it to make it wait for 2 seconds. So again, we need to understand all of these different pieces. One big thing is Python has a lot of built-in functionality, the loops, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff built in to it. However, there's a lot that's not there. There's a lot more features that you need to bring in these modules in order to use some of their features. So one of the most common ones, and we're going to use this to kind of as an example on how to import it and what I'm talking about, is time, right? Time is a module that gives you access to what we're going to use, sleep. There's other things to use as well, as we're going to see when we can import random, and math and all these other things. But basically what you do, and there's 2 different ways to do it. So the first way is from time import, and star means everything, right? So from time import everything. So from the module time, give me all of the commands, right? That's basically what that says is I'm going to grab the time module and I want all of its commands. Now you can very specifically grab just what you need. Again, so the less you have, the less the system needs to look through and find and everything like that. So the more specific you can be, the better. Especially some things do have the same commands as well. So it's important to understand you grab only what you need. So in this case, again, all we really need is sleep. So from time, in the module time, we're going to import sleep. Now when we use it this way, we just can now use the command sleep. And the command works sleep parentheses and then whatever you want, how long you want it. So 1 is 1 second. We'll see this in a little bit when I run this. But basically, again, we import the sleep command and now I sleep. You'll see later that it does get a little bit more complicated, and we'll talk about that. Some of the modules, there's more you need to do. But this kind of goes to where, this is just the basics of programming. So I'll show you what you need to know when we get to those points. But for the basic simple ones, again, from library import command, or you can do from library import everything. Let me grab this a little bigger for you. So again, from library import all, and that way we have access to this sleep command. So when I run this, you'll see 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, right? 1 second. I can speed this up by going 0.5, running it again, and you can see now it's half a second. This allows us to do a lot of stuff. One good example we've had to use before is robotics. Say you design a robot that when it hits the wall, it will back up, turn around, and go forward, right? Well, if your command just says, all right, if the button is pressed, go backwards, and then go forward, and if you just have that, it just loops through that, go forward, the command, the default is go forward, but when you press the button, you go backwards and turn around. Well, the problem is the program doesn't slow down, right? So basically what you've done is you'll make it so the robot just kind of backs up a little bit, and then because the button's no longer pressed, right? It's if the button's pressed, as soon as it backs up a little bit, it'll just run into the wall again and just bounce off the wall. So if you do, if it's pressed, back up, and then wait 2 seconds, then it'll be backing up for 2 seconds and turning around, and then it'll go forward, and then it'll go forward, right? That's the concept of one example where sleep is useful. And then sometimes just being able to see stuff, right? Because if I don't have this sleep and I run this program, I mean, you didn't even see anything happen, right? It did run, right? This did run. It just instantaneously printed all of those. So sometimes it's nice. Sleep's nice to do that as well. All right, let's go real quick into the other way to do this. And you can just import the whole, you can go ahead and import just the library, right? So in this case, right, I'm importing the command or the commands from the library. But in this case, you just import the whole entire library. Now, if you do that, let me make it a little bigger. If you do that, you have to call it, right? You have to call the library every single time. So time.sleep. I have access to all of the different commands, and you can go and Google the commands, right? Python time module, right? So you can go in here and see all the different pieces that you can grab from it. So we get the sending time, this. We can grab all of these are different commands that you can go, right? And really the one we're messing with, and the one I've really only ever used from it is sleep, right? And these also tell you, if you do Google this, this tells you what you put inside of it, right? So I can get time, this tells you what you send into it. Sometimes it just does whatever it does, right? So it's important, you know, it's really good to know that you can Google and figure out what the module does just by doing a simple Google search. And that's kind of where you see this as well. But we could, if we did import time from time import sleep, right? I'd still have access to all those other commands. So if I wanted to do this one right here, I could do this one right here as its own command, right? So that is it for the basics of programming and using import modules and actually just getting one in. We'll learn a couple more in this unit this week, but time is a great example. Real easy to see how it's used. So with that, our next lesson is going to be another import, but we're also going to show you how to use random, which will help us with our project. So we'll see you next lesson.